Hey class, so I'm sorry for the very rustic video that I'm about to do. I had to come to Chicago to take care of some family stuff, and I happened to come at the same time that we're getting the coldest weather in the history of the state. And yes, it is cold. It was negative 51 yesterday. I struggled having to take the dogs outside. So what I'm doing is I'm having to make this video in my basement, and I was trying to enlist my little brother to be my client. So the movement that we are going to be going through, I'm going to do it as well, and then I'm actually going to show my little brother's video of him doing them, is the squat. And so for our movement, we're doing a dumbbell squat. For our progressive movement, we're doing a jump squat, and for our regressive movement, we're just doing a body weight squat. So anytime before I have a client start doing squats in their programming, I always do an overhead squat assessment, and same thing with a postural analysis. And the reason why we do that is because we can identify some issues that they may have, such as overactive muscles that need to be SMR'd, some underactive muscles that need to be strengthened, and then things that are pretty common in like the everyday client, which is hip mobility and ankle mobility, both of which you'll see with my little brother. So some of the common coaching cues that we should do when doing a squat is that we want to always have our clients stand not too wide of a stance or not too narrow, and we don't want their toes facing forward. We would like to have them see them at a slight, like a 30-degree angle. So we have them stand with their feet shoulder width apart, ankles, toes are going to be in line with the knees at about 30 degrees. And then what we ask them to do is we want to maintain a neutral spine, a neutral torso with our chest up, our head in a neutral position. We don't want it too high, and we also don't want it down. We don't want their shoulders to cave in or like their chest to cave in, and then they have that rounded out back when they're trying to go down. So those are some of the common coaching cues that we see with them, and a lot of things that I see, which anybody can comment with as well, is that I see a lot of trainers sometimes tell people, oh, just go with a wider stance. Well, if they have hip issues, if they have ankle issues, that's obviously not going to solve it, and if we keep doing the same movement when we already have issues, we can cause injury to the client. And so that's one common mistake and error that I see when it comes to doing a squat. The other thing too is obviously throwing on weight or doing progressive movements when we have a client that can't even do a regular squat as well. I know that people can have arguments on whether or not you need to go past 90 degrees, but there are other things within the squat movement that we can do to add on to the movement versus having somebody go past 90 degrees and do the butt to the ground kind of movement. So one of the coaching cues, like I said, when you first have a client that's going to use a dumbbell or weights, I know some people like to go sumo stance, so they have the dumbbells in between and they go for that wider stance. But for this one, we're actually going to have the dumbbells, which is just frozen water. Sorry, I'm working with what I got. With our elbows nice and in, we don't want him falling forward. We don't want the client coming in with those and having the weights out here and then coming down. We like to have them up in that neutral grip, holding onto them, and then going down in the descent. So when it comes to a progressive movement for that, and we're doing that jump squat, we're going to have like the same common cues that go with a regular squat in the jump squat, except we're going to have them explode up, from once they go down and they hit that transition point of coming back forward. It's a plyometric movement. One of the key things to note is common mistakes that happen in that progressive movement is that people tend to sit in that sticking point, that transition phase for too long. And so, it's the amortization phase. And so what happens when we stick in that position for too long is our energy actually dissipates. So that power and that explosiveness starts to dissipate when in that downward phase for too long. You also see people who go way past that 90 degrees and they kind of do like a rocking movement to get back up, which let me do. Like I said, don't judge me. I'm in the basement. So they kind of come here, they stay down, and then they explode up. So those are also some common mistakes that we see. So what I'm going to do is after this, I'm going to show the movements of my brother, and then I'm going to kind of write up what I see. As you'll see, my brother is not able to do a squat even a body weight one. So I would not have him start to immediately do squats in a program. I would actually work on his hip mobility, because one of the other things when it comes to a squat is that we kind of have like a slight hip hinge, not full, so we kind of take it in and we kind of just do a slight hinge movement and then come on down. So you'll see with him, he has no butt muscles, he's got no ankle mobility, and he's definitely got some hip issues. So I would actually work on SMR and strengthening those muscles as well first with him. So because obviously we get neural gains first, and that's definitely something that he needs. So with this, I'm going to add the videos of him doing it, and then go from there, and I'm actually going to discuss it a little bit more in the discussion board. So again, guys, I'm really sorry, like I'm stuck here and this is what I'm working with, what I got right now. But thank you, and I really look forward to everybody's feedback on this.
One more time.